Welcome to Class 43 to 6th grade. Today we're going to look at a couple different concepts. First concept is we're looking at division in a slightly different mindset, really working with similar numbers. And if you look at the problem on the board, 1400 divided by 35, it's a process that you could definitely go through and try and solve. But what we want to be able to start to see is relationship between numbers to understand how to do math fast and still get the correct answer. And so by looking at this problem, we can see some relationships. The relationships that hopefully you're able to see come with this and this right here. And 14 and 35, you would realize, are both multiples of the number 7. So what happens if we divide both of these numbers by 7? If we divide 1400 by 7, we get 200. And if we divide 35 by 7, we get 5. And in the end, as you look at this, the question would stand, which problem is easier to solve? 1400 divided by 35 or 200 divided by 5? And the correct answer would be, of course, this one. Here, 200 divided by 5 is much easier to do than 1400 divided by 35. And because we took the same amount in both factors, these two problems are considered equivalent problems. They are exactly the same. The answer for this, you can do mentally and you say, well, that's 40. And that also happens to be the answer here because of the equivalence. And so by doing this, we can take a problem that is slightly more difficult, factor out common factors, using common multiples to help us factor, and get a much simpler problem down here. So we see that relationship. Let's try it again. This time we're going to use fractions. 10 and a half divided by 1 and a half is probably not the easiest thing to do. However, if I were to take this number and multiply by 2, and I were to take this number and multiply by 2. Alright, so that's 2 10 and a halves. 10 plus 10 is 20 plus a half and a half. It's going to give me a 21. And 1 and a half times 2. Right, that's 1 and a half plus 1 and a half. It's going to give me 3. And in the end, the thought is, right, I multiplied both of them by 2. So the numbers are equivalent to the original. And in the end, I have a much, much simpler problem. Because this problem right here, you can do mentally in your head. Well, this problem right here would take a number of steps to get that work done. And in the end, the answers are both 7. Right? 10 and a half divided by 1 and a half is 7. So we have that idea. The other part of this lesson happens to deal with finding unknowns in problems with decimals. Right? How do we solve for g here? And in the end, we're going to use the same processes that we used when we didn't have decimals. Right? We need to rearrange our problem so that we can get a correct answer. Right? We can still use the principles of our fact families. We know g minus 7 equals 4.1, which also means that g minus 4.1 equals 7. So in the end, if we were to flip this around, we would say that 4.1 plus 7 equals g, or 7 plus 4.1 equals g. Decimals don't want to go where I want them. But either way, we can see a much simpler way to solve this, so that as we line up our decimals and we add, we get 11.1. We can do it with multiplication and division also. Yeah, there it is. Right. P plus 2/7 equals 6/7. In the end, we're going to use the same principles that we have been using to no, it doesn't work. Alright. So we see the problem down here. 6 plus 2/7 equals 6/7. We're going to rearrange this problem to be 6/7 minus 2/7 is going to equal 2. And of course, if you solve, you're going to get an answer of t equals 4/7, right? Same denominator stays the same. Numerator minus numerator gives us our answer there. We can also have a problem like this. You've got a quick flash that comes back. 2/7, right next to a letter, that means times, equals 1. Now we've got to think hard. Okay, wait a minute. Fractions, multiplying, equaling 1. We're talking about reciprocals. Right? And so as we look at this idea, right, times f equaling 1, this right here, for a fraction to become 1, we need to multiply by the reciprocal, and we have this fast idea that we understand what the reciprocal is. So we have this kind of done. Okay, here are some sample problems then that you can work with. The first example, working with how to rearrange problems to find that missing, in this case, the missing added. And then you have the problem on the right here where don't just go and solve it, find an equivalent number, equivalent problem. That's going to make this simple. That is lesson